And welcome in to Practical Wellness Radio. Today's episode, Cody and I are kind of just covering our bases. If you guys have been listening to this for a while or following along with any of our social media, you probably are aware that we are super excited about this IC Weightlifting Summit that is taking place at Big Grove Brewery on August 15th. So this is the episode to tune in and learn a little bit more about that. And so we're just going to dive right into it. And it's Cody and I just hashing it out. Hopefully we cover a lot of things that you guys might have questions about. At the end of the episode, if you still have a few things that you're not quite sure about, you can always feel free to shoot us an email at info@practicalwellnesscoach.com. And today's warm-up wave, before we get into the show, is just going to tie in a little bit about tie into what we're focusing on, and what kind of is in the back of our mind for this entire IC Weightlifting Summit. And if you've been paying attention, you do know that there's two parts to it, and this first part is the lift and learn. So this quote is a quote from Henry Ford, and it is, "Anyone who stops learning is old. Whether at 20 or 80, anyone who keeps learning stays young." So on that note, we encourage you to, continue to learn, continue to grow, and that's what this IC Weightlifting Summit will be all about. Enjoy. All right, welcome in. We are here, Cody and I, and we're going to use this as an opportunity to touch on, we talked about it on a previous episode, the upcoming IC Weightlifting Summit taking place at Big Grove Brewery. And like I said, we did talk about it in a previous episode, Cody and I think in one of our cool down segments, we just touched on it a little bit. But actually, registration just opened a few days ago, so we just thought this would be the perfect time to kind of expand on it. We just kind of give you some bullet points earlier, but I guess maybe before we talk about what exactly it is and what's in store, Cody, my question for you, man, is like, where did this idea come from? Where'd you get the inspiration to kind of put together this IC Weightlifting Summit?
Yeah. So before we start talking about the what, let's talk about the why. And this idea came, a couple of years ago, I guess, at this point. My passion as a coach is kind of lies in education and uplifting. And I think when we look at physical health and longevity, strength is a very large part of that, right? And it can also be, in terms of exercise and movement, one of the more intimidating things to look at. Especially when it relates to a barbell, right? And maybe some heavier loads. So the goal being to reach people that maybe are too hesitant to walk into a gym, and maybe want to get their first exposure to this in a very welcoming way, in a very open way. I wanted to create this opportunity. So that's kind of how it started. And I want it to be very community driven as well, right? So it's everyone within the, quote unquote strength community coming together to celebrate strength and allow this opportunity for those that maybe are interested or want to try, out some of these modalities to have that opportunity in a place that maybe they've been before, which is Big Grove Brewery, and maybe feel a bit more comfortable in some ways, outside of, which would alternatively be going to a gym that they've never been to, which I know can be super intimidating. So that's kind of the idea, right? And that's the big part of, say, the first segment, the lift and learn. And then the second segment was, also community driven. It's the non-traditional meet. And that's going to be able, have a little bit of a different flair. It's less teaching, but more just celebration based and expression of strength for those that have experience already. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach there. There's one that's very much teaching and one that's, again, very much like celebration and expression.
Man, you said a lot of really interesting things there. I like what you said before I forget that second piece, the celebration and the expression of strength, right? And I think that is really cool for kind of that, intermediate, maybe even the slightly beginner still, but intermediate to advanced, kind of, seasoned lifter. We spend all this time, myself, and I would include myself in that pool of, I Mark Bell used to always say, the power lifter, right? It was like his slogan, like strength is never a weakness, right? Like that was his
Right.
thing. And I think you hit it too, like strength bias, like so many people, when we talk about goals, like almost everybody says they want to get stronger. It doesn't matter how strong their baseline is currently. Their goal is they want to get stronger. And you can tell me if you disagree, but I think, there's a lot of ways and a lot of tools to make ourselves stronger, but
Sure.
the barbell still might be, arguably the best, method and tool to improve strength and resistance training. And so if you're new to this and you've never really experienced a lot of like barbell movements or lifting in general, you're I think missing out if that is one of your goals. And I think
I would agree.
Yeah. And I think in general, if somebody's listening to this and they're interested in fitness, they probably maybe not already know that, or at least aware of it, and to a point where they could benefit from, this lift and learn. And I think that is such an ability, and it's something that, man, when I was first getting into fitness, it would have been so much fun, to just sit down and go over some of these movements in depth, get a chance to grab a beer afterwards at a brewery, and just like like you said, it's a celebration, and it's an opportunity of growing and learning and community and culture, and that's what it's all about.
And I eventually, and this is obviously the first iteration of it, I want it to grow from year to year, and I want it to eventually have this kind of like festival vibe, where it's again community driven, but it's relatively relaxed. Given the context, there's music going, there's jams, there's, post instruction or meat beers or whatever the case may be, you're hanging out. It's a big space. And, even spectators are welcome, of course, to watch and cheer. And, and that's the thing too, is like, hey, maybe you don't have, that drive or maybe that commitment yet. But you're curious and you can just come and watch, right? You don't necessarily have to participate to get the experience as well. So, I'm super excited. And I wanted to take this time, on this podcast to kind of flesh it out for people a little bit more, and create a bit more of a picture, before we, actually get to the event here in about a month or so.
Yeah, we've said it many times, and we've said it on previous episodes, and it's all over our social media. But I think just to reiterate and remind people that this is 100% free.
Yes, and that was the big thing too, is like accessibility, right? I didn't want to put barriers up. Yeah, that's why. Okay, took a barrier down of going to a gym to have to do this, like going to a CrossFit gym, and people are like, "Oh, I have to go to a CrossFit gym. I don't know where to park. I don't know what that environment's going to be like. I'm intimidated by it. So let's go to a community space, right? It's outside. If you've been to Big Grove, you know where to park, so it's more accessible, the better. And again, being free, all you got to do is pre-register and then show up on time, and you're good to go.
Yeah, we always used to, when I owned the gym, we always used to talk about the 3 big reasons people might not dive into a fitness regimen or want to join our gym, probably specifically. And let's see, this is kind of put me on the spot, but let's see if I can remember them. So financially, obviously, we talked about this was free already, but financially was one of them. Number 2 is time. Do I have enough time? Can I make it happen? What can I do maybe with my kids, right? If I have kids or whatever. And then the third was just intimidation, right? And those are kind of the 3 kind of hurdles or obstacles that maybe somebody had to go through to become a member at our gym. And it's true and it's real. So what we did at the gym is we offered every weekend, every single Saturday, we offered a free community workout. We just talked about this, I think, briefly with the episode of Stacy last time. And second, we had childcare, not for every single class, not for all day, but we offered childcare classes as an option. And we also made that free for moms and dads.
That's awesome, because that's not cheap to provide.
Exactly, yeah. And then the third was we did much like this. We did at least every 4 to 6 weeks, we wanted to have some sort of kind of community culture event with our gym where we'd either, like, not even including fitness, right? We just meet up at a brewery, or we want to play like game night at a brewery or whatever it might be. Like, I'm kind of blanking on some other things that we did, but stuff like that where, and I think that we're on the right track here with this IC Weightlifting Summit. Like those obstacles, those same 3 obstacles have kind of all been I don't know.
Yeah. It's free.
Watered
Kids
down,
are
yeah.
welcome. Obviously, you have to be 18 or older to actually participate, like and be coached and do that. But kids can hang out. There's plenty of space. It'll be super safe in that respect, you know.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
believe Big Grove has like a kid area.
oh yeah,
Like a little like.
yeah, they have like a
climbing
play
area.
like
Yeah.
thing now. Yeah, and they can mess around. They can be inside or outside. Yeah, and there's plenty of space. So yeah, kids are absolutely welcome to hang out and spectate. And then, you know, what was the third one? Was it
Oh, just
intimidation?
intimidation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So like it's free. Like you can bring a friend, you know, come in as a group, or, you know, maybe you have a friend that is pretty like well versed in, you know, weightlifting or strength training. Have them come with you. They can get something out of the lift and learn, and then you have like a support system as well.
for sure. And I think that, you know, we talk about this a lot. When we would do our free community workouts on Saturdays, I would always like to point out to somebody who is new that maybe somebody else who it was also their first day. So they didn't feel like they were there alone and it was their first day. Because oftentimes we would have a number of people who would show up and it'd be their first time ever. Or even there'd be somebody and I'd be like, oh, they've just been here a week and they're loving it and they're doing great. Like, so they could see like, hey, these are other people like me.
Yeah,
who
it's a great
were
way to
once
connect.
Intimidated. And I think, yeah, for this lift and learn, same thing. When we're doing this lift and learn, it's going to be, you know, people being coached by, you know, strong, intelligent professionals in the fitness industry in the area of Iowa City.
Yeah.
And for the most part, everybody will be kind of very much in that beginner mold.
Well, let's talk about the lift and learn. That's a good segue.
Yeah.
Well, actually, before we do that, so let's put a pause on that just for a second. So again, like I said before, it's a two-pronged thing. So there's a lift and learn in the morning, and then kind of later on in the morning, there's going to be that meet. So they don't overlap. However, you can't do both. I think that's going to be important because there is a bit of a warm-up overlap and organization overlap. So you can't do both. So you have to choose one or the other. We'll talk about these individually to help you figure out maybe which one's for you if you're interested. Again, before we do that, like Ted said earlier, you can register. That is open now. It opened a few days ago. You can find the registration on our Instagram page. So if you go to Instagram, just type in IC Weightlifting Summit and then click the link in our bio. So it'll take you to the link tree and then you can register for either one. There's going to be a ton of information within that registration form. So you can just check it out and read all that and kind of the process on how to get signed up and then what you do during the day. So that all will be there. And then decide whatever one you want to do and then register. And that's all you do. You don't have to pay anything. And then
Well, that's great. Before we move on, maybe let's touch, now's a good time. Everybody that shows up, everybody that registers, what do we have available for them? Because I know we have some pretty cool things available.
Talking
to
about
everyone.
prizes.
Yeah.
Well, we're
prizes.
still working
Swag.
on some, but I can't announce some of the bigger ones. So what we're going to do is, so everyone that attends and participates, so you can't just register, you have to be there in person on that day. You'll get entered into a raffle for some Lululemon gear. So we're going to raffle away to one person, a top and a bottom for Lululemon gear. And we'll choose a winner for that raffle the Monday after the event. So on the 16th, August 16th, then we'll contact them directly. And then the winners of the meet will also, so we have a male division and a female division. They'll each get their own top and bottom from Lululemon. So I think that's amazing. And then everyone that participates and shows up the day of the event, they're going to get a free Big Row Brewery token so they can exchange that token for a drink.
Oh, drinks. Yes, I love drinks.
Oh, drinks. Absolutely.
No, that's great. Yeah, so just to reiterate, just for showing up, right? Just for showing up.
Yeah, just for showing up.
Just for showing up, I have an opportunity to just have a cold frosty one at Big Grove Brewery.
Yeah.
And then,
and I think they're going to open the bar a little earlier than normal. So after the lift and learn, and you can even give that token to someone else too.
Yeah,
like if someone wants to come out and watch, you can be like, here, you can have this and just chill and watch and hang out and cheer.
Yeah. And then also just for showing up, I'm entered into an opportunity to have a nice top bottom, correlating outfit.
Yeah. Lululemon's some nice stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. That's like each outfit's like $150.
Yeah.
You know?
If you've ever bought Lululemon, you know, it's not exactly on the cheap side, but it's you get what you pay for. It's high quality. It's awesome. Exactly. Yeah. And as somebody who owns multiple Lululemon articles, I say it's well worth it. And then, so what else? We talked about registration. Where else were we going?
So we talked about registration, talked about some prizes. Again, there'll probably be some more, but we can't announce those yet. We'll also have some booths set up. So there's a couple local physical therapists that are going to set up some booths, and they'll have some different gadgets you can try out or talk to those guys and get some information and make some connections there. Maybe you have some type of thing that you do need help with. Be a great opportunity to pick some brains as well. And then we are working on maybe one or two other booths with some just kind of product and things like that, which I'm not ready to quite announce yet, but there'll be some booths and people to interact with and maybe some products as well. So that'll be going on. And then, kind of what's left now is just to talk about, I do want to talk about too, and I said this, so you can find the registration on Instagram. And then you can also find our registration links on Facebook. So again, IC Weightlifting Summit. And if you do follow us on our newsletter for Practical Wellness, you would have already gotten those links via email in a newsletter.
How do people get signed up for the newsletter here, Cody, if they need to?
So for Practical Wellness newsletter, you can go to our Instagram, hit the link in our bio, and there'll be an option to sign up for our newsletter. So you can just do that and you'll be signed up.
Perfect. And I think before we maybe move on from the lift and learn, let's talk quickly about, again, maybe just quickly the kind of flow of how will that look and what, who's participating. I know we've got some coaches from the area who are coming in to help run this. And I don't know, I think that's something that we take pride in. They will definitely take pride in, we just aren't finding people to coach. We actually were seeking out, I think, maybe some of the most qualified coaches in the area to run this.
And diverse, selection of coaches as well. So we didn't just get CrossFit coaches, but we got a lot of different coaches with even some, different philosophies, which is great. There's no one way to do anything. So the lift and learn, and this is meant for really everybody. It does certainly cater to the novice or the beginner. But obviously, if you're an intermediate or maybe even advanced, lifter, you can pick up maybe a couple cues or adjustments that really might make a big difference as well. So any level is open or as absolutely encouraged to sign up for this. And even if it's just to, be there for moral support for a friend or a family member. So that lift and learn is going to start at 9 a.m. on the 15th. I would very much encourage you to arrive 10 to 15 minutes prior to that. You'll come on in. There'll be a registration booth or a welcome booth, name to be decided, apparently, since I just now thought about it. But there'll be a booth for you to go to where you'll check in. And then you'll be given, obviously, a name tag. You'll sign a waiver. You'll get your drink token. And then you'll also be entered into that raffle as well. So make sure you certainly do that. Don't just show up and kind of sneak in. You want to make sure you hit that booth. And then what this will be, and it's going to last from 9 a.m. to 10:15-ish a.m. And basically, you're going to be instructed on the squat, the deadlift, and the press by one of these local expert coaches. We'll be utilizing PVC pipes to work on these mechanics and the why behind each movement. So if you're a little nervous about weight and things like that, we're just using PVC pipes. They're just a couple pounds, and that's going to be plenty, I assure you, to correct and to improve upon those movement patterns. You'll be basically given or assigned a coach during this as well. So that coach will lead you through each of these movement patterns for about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll do kind of breakout sessions, and it should be pretty personal because we have a decent amount of coaches. So there'll be about 5 or 6 coaches from around the area from different gyms for you to connect with and learn from. Again, it's all free, so you're not losing out on anything. Now, I would say make sure you dress appropriately if you decide to attend.
Exactly.
It's going to be August. I can't control the weather outside of maybe obviously anything dangerous like lightning and things like that. It's going to be a go. So just make sure you dress appropriately for whatever the weather is going to be. And I'd also encourage you to kind of bring a water bottle or something just so you can stay hydrated as well. And even pre-hydrate would probably be a good idea too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was going to say the same thing, bring workout attire, shoes, whatever that looks like. And then, it's in the morning, but it's not super early. Make sure you have at least a little bit of something maybe in your stomach. Cause it's not going to be, we're not going to be
sunscreen.
Sunscreen when Cody, if you got a bald head like Cody, sunscreen's always important.
We'll try to maybe get some tents, but we only can do so much.
I've got a big nose for the record, so I always have to sunscreen the hell out of my nose. But anyway, and then, it's not going to be a super grueling workout, but I can promise you that you will break a sweat and you may want a little bit of sustenance in your stomach prior to coming, so whatever that is.
It's all about learning. It's all about improving. It's not a hardcore workout or anything like that. You're going to definitely be working and moving, but it's not going to be anything too crazy
Very
or
much
strenuous. It's just going to be instructional and improving your movement patterns, and obviously connecting with a coach. So it'd be a great opportunity if you're like, I don't know where to go. What gym is good for me? Who do I vibe with? It's a great opportunity to kind of figure that out too, because a lot of the local coaches will be here.
And then before we move on to the meet, let's go over quickly. What are the specific lifts that we'll be instructing during the Lift and Learn?
So yeah. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but we're going to look at kind of these 3 primary movement patterns. So I kind of call these movements the base of the pyramid. So we're going to be looking at our squat pattern, and then we're going to look at, and we'll take 10 to 15 minutes for each of these, the squat pattern with a piece without as well. I'm looking at the air squat and just improving those mechanics based off of coach feedback. And then we're going to look at the hinge pattern, which we can equate to as a deadlift in this context. So basically picking something up safely off the ground efficiently and effectively. And then finally, we're going to look at a press, and it's going to be an overhead press in this context. So we're not going to be making you do push-ups or anything like that. So it's an overhead press and the mechanics with that with a PVC pipe. So those are going to be our 3 lifts. Again, each segment will be 10 to 15 minutes. There'll be, kind of an exposition for the group. So it's like, here's the squat, here's what we're looking at, here's why the squat's a really great thing for you to practice and improve upon, both in terms of strength and mechanics. And you'll break out with your coach into these small groups, and the group sizes will be dependent on, again, how many people register, of course, but it'll still be very personal as well. And if we get a lot of people registered, we'll obviously pull in more coaches to help balance that out. And that's really it. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward, pretty accessible, and pretty open. And we'll take care of you, we'll make sure you have a good time, that you feel comfortable and all that good stuff.
Yeah. And, sometimes I like to do this just to put into context kind of what we're offering. Right. And so this is just when we're talking about, again, the fact that it's free, if somebody were to approach anybody in the fitness industry, personal training, and wanted to set up like an hour-long tutorial on some of these fitness movements, you're looking at probably a minimum of kind of a $50 an hour personal training rate. I mean, that's just kind of,
or more, depending on the
minimum,
coach and the environment or the gym, right? And
and
that's just in the Midwest. If you go out to the West Coast, you're looking at like $150 for the hour.
And that's a very probably average coach's rate, right? The better the coach, the better the experience, the better, and the more that will go up. So I would say, when we're talking about the value for somebody to come be a part of a community, learn, like you said, the base of the pyramid, get a free drink token, like it's going to be a great thing, I think, for anybody who's interested.
Yeah. We'll say, about an hour and a half of your time on a Sunday morning. And you get a good return out of it too.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about the meet then. So
you
gotta go ahead.
Let's talk about that non-traditional weightlifting meet. And this is going to be for, more intermediate advanced lifters. So you need to have experience. You have to have experience before you sign up for this. So that's going to be really important. Now, this one's a little bit more nuanced. There's a lot more detail into this. So I'll try to explain this to the best of my ability, but let's just kind of start with kind of the timeline of it. So it starts at 10:30, but you need to arrive before 10 to check in, because you're going to want to use that 30 minutes to warm up. It'll go from 10:30 to, and it depends on how many people sign up and efficiencies on my part as well, but it'll last hopefully no longer than 1. I have an end time at 12:45, but we'll take another extra 15 minutes of give and take just to make sure, there are hiccups. So we'll just say about 1 o'clock will end. And you'll have a warm-up area. Now, I will say, and actually before we even get into that, do note that there is a registration limit on the meet. If we don't put a registration cap on this, it's just going to go really long. And I want this to be efficient. I want it to be fun. And I don't want it to take your whole day. Yeah. So we're going to cap at 15 males and 15 females. It's going to be first come, first serve. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I want to do this, and you haven't registered, you need to register.
Yeah.
Now we will
registration is open right now. So
it's open right now. So you want to make sure you do that. And if someone drops out or whatever, we will have a wait list.
Perfect.
Okay. And I'll manage emails and let people know who's in and who's in the wait list. And if someone drops out, I'll notify the next person in line if they're in or not. So make sure you do still register, even if you're on the wait list, because you never know. So with that being said, you should arrive and check in with the registration booth before 10 a.m. And kind of the same thing. You'll sign a waiver. You'll get your name tag. I don't know if I'll do name tags for the
meet,
but
the mock meet. But yeah,
it'll just kind of be in the way. But
yeah, but I think you're right on it. Like, I think if the check-in, hey, you should probably check in 9:45. Just be prepared.
For
Parking, may or may not be an issue. So just
plan
to be there.
You can't.
Yep. So plan to be there at 9:45. That'll make sure that you have plenty of time to warm up, because the last thing we'd want you to do is be rushed during your warm up. So
I want to talk about the warm up too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because that'll be important. But before I get to that, you'll come in 9:45 ideally, check in, sign your waiver. You'll have to weigh in as well, because how we're going to decide the winner. So we're not doing weight classes, but we're going to use the Sinclair coefficient to decide who the ultimate winner is based off of total weight lifted and relative to body weight. So you'll have to weigh in so we can get that number so we can decide the winner. And then you're going to confirm your opening weights as well at the booth for that day. And you should have already sent these in when you register, but you're going to reconfirm those, make sure everything's where it needs to be and there's no miscommunication. You'll get your drink token and you'll obviously register for the raffle as well. And then you'll be free to warm up. Now, you're going to want that extra time to warm up, because here's the deal, right? I'm not saying that this is going to be perfect, because, right, we're kind of in an imperfect environment. We're at a brewery to lift weights, and I only can haul so many weights. And I want to give a shout out to CrossFit Kilo 2 for donating equipment for us. You only can haul so much, and we only have so much space to utilize at this place, because it's still a business and they want to obviously cater to other people. They don't want to just a big weightlifting meet taking up their space all day.
Yeah.
So there is going to be limited equipment to warm up with. So I would encourage you to get there early so you can utilize that equipment. You will have to share, though. That's just going to be the nature of things. Mm-hmm. But you can bring any equipment that you want to bring. So if you have like bands or lighter weights you want to use, a kettlebell or something, absolutely bring it. To help you warm up. So kind of do note that. I think that's going to be important. That'll be really important. So, but we'll have a warm-up area ultimately.
Yeah, that's great. I think, some competitions that I've done in the past, a lot of times, like, CrossFit style competitions, we do the same thing. Like, we want to actually, like, I'm always kind of, I'm like the dad leaving for the airport. I want to get there early. I want to find where I want to hang out. I want to set up my area. I want to, and then again, like, I'll bring bands. I'll bring maybe a kettlebell, like, because a lot of these things, like, you just want to make sure you're warmed up, right? And I don't want to go into too deep. I think that's a total different conversation, but we will have a warm up area, and I think you definitely want to take advantage of that. And I think this will be a fun, and again, like we talked about with the lift and learn, like if you're new to lifting in general, that how great, that can be for somebody. But I also think if you've been working out and you're like, I don't know if I'd ever want to do a meet, this also I think is a great thing for somebody who might not be like super invested in training and trying to peak and all these things for a meet, but just want to like,
it's a good opportunity to get a first exposure.
Yeah. And I was going to say,
in a very
when we first started the celebration of the expression of strength training, like celebrate and kind of, if you've been putting in the work and like, let's have fun with it.
Yeah, let's have fun. And that's kind of the thing is like, and I didn't want this to be like some sanctioned meet. I want it to be pretty loose. I want it to be pretty relaxed. We're going to have music going, right? And again, it's free, right? So kind of come in with that expectation, just have fun. Just know that some of it's going to be a little imperfect, like having to wait for a bar to warm up and things like that. And like, that's just going to be the nature of it. And just enjoy your time and kind of take things as they come in. And we'll do the best we can to organize it and make it as smooth as possible. But there's just going to be inherent limitations with the location.
I've been to CrossFit competitions where they've had, 200 participants and there's 2 barbells to warm up for like a clean and jerk.
Well, we won't have that problem. But.
Yeah. So, and anyway, but, and I think too, like you were alluding to, like the celebration, the fun, the laid back atmosphere, the music going. Another thing too that I think is kind of a selling point. I didn't really know this was a selling point until we started running some competitions and stuff at the gym I was at. We're gonna have a photographer lined up for that day, and I think I don't know if we have the specific one exactly lined up for that day, but
still working on it. So if you're a photographer out there and you want to donate some of your time, hit me up.
But we will have somebody, and like I think people, like if you're invested in your fitness and you want to, like, for lack of a better term, show off and have somebody take your picture while you're lifting a heavy barbell, like that's kind of fun too. And again, you'll get that for free. That's kind of cool. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's talk about, so we kind of talked about checking in and kind of what's happening before kind of the meet begins. So And we'll have kind of, and Ted, you're going to be the head judge here for this. And before the meet starts, so about 10 minutes prior, so about 10:20, we'll kind of pull everybody in because you'll have been there by now.
Yep.
And had started warming up. We'll pull everybody in. We'll go over any specifics for the day, kind of flow of traffic, sequencing of things, etc. We'll answer any questions you might have as well, expectations, standards, so on and so forth. So we'll do that, and then we'll kind of kick things off. So obviously, we had you guys submit your opening weights for each lift. The first lift is going to be a clean. I do want to note that the clean has to be from the floor. So we're not doing any hang variations. It has to be a clean, but it can be a power clean or a full squat. So you can do a clean or you can do a power clean. It just needs to be received on the shoulders, controlled, and then stood up. All right. So do keep that in mind. So that, again, looking at accessibility, that is something that I wanted to prioritize. And that opens up maybe the door for a lot of people that maybe it wouldn't have been. And that's one thing why we didn't do like a traditional weightlifting meet, is because the snatch is a lot more complex and a lot of people don't feel as comfortable with that. So we went with the clean. And we'll start with, so let me back up a second. So each lift, you'll be given 3 attempts. The first lift is going to be the clean. We're going to do an ascending bar, so the bar will never decrease in weight. So if someone starts with the lowest weight, they're the first person on the platform for the day or for that lift. They'll have a minute to complete their lift. All right. Now, one little thing that is going to be different for this non-traditional weightlifting meet is you can actually attempt that lift as many times as you want within that minute to be successful. So if you say miss the clean on your first attempt within that minute, on your first weight in this example, you can attempt it again if you have time left on your clock, but you only have up to a minute. Now, if you make your attempt, we're going to move on to that next lifter. So there is always going to be the lifter on deck, and the judges booth will help manage that. So they'll call out lifters on deck. So we'll have kind of just a steady flow. The clock's more or less always moving. We will stop the clock to address the weight. So whether that's increasing it or tightening up, or making adjustments potentially on the squat racks as well, because we will go to a back squat. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And that's going to be the clean. And then Ted, you got any questions on that before?
No, you're good. I just wanted to reiterate that because I think you got it all. I just wanted to reiterate. Yeah, you have a maximum of 1 minute to complete the lift, right? A maximum of 1 minute. If you walk up, 3, 2, 1, go, grab the bar and you lift it and you complete it, that's great. You can move on. You're done.
We're moving on, and we'll give a little transition. I'll have to do the math, but it's going to be basically a running clock. So that person needs to be ready on deck. So when that person completes their lift, they're more or less they're up. They don't get that full minute still.
Yeah, no.
So because we got to keep things moving.
For sure. Or the other scenario, if that person misses their lift, they might have 20 seconds yet to kind of collect themselves and try again for a second attempt. But I think, and a lot of people may know this already, but especially, on your first lift, we want to have a lift that we can kind of, hit probably 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, especially for that opening lift. Go ahead.
Yep. So we'll go through that. So more or less, I think you got everything, all the more or less key points for the structure. And again, we'll obviously answer questions the morning of as well, or you can certainly email me at info@practicalwellness.com if you have any specific questions as well. But we are going to move on. So after the clean, we'll then transition to a back squat. We'll get some racks out, and it's going to be the same thing. So you had put in your starting weight. So we'll just work through that. And I will say this, I did forget to mention, once you complete your lift, say on that first attempt or not, you do have to report to the judge's booth to then give the judge or the person running the booth your next lift immediately after. Does that make sense? So if I squat 100 kilos, right, for my first attempt, I complete it. All right, I rack it. I walk over to the judge's booth. Hey, I'm going to do 110 kilos for my second lift. And then you walk and you can continue to warm up or whatever, right? So make sure that you know that. And I will note too that the plates will be in kilos. So make sure you understand conversions.
Yeah.
So 1 kilo equals 2.2 pounds. Use your phone if you need it when figuring out your weights, if you're not used to kilos.
And if we have, we were going to try to have enough volunteers that there might be somebody on hand to kind of help if that's something that's new to you.
Yep.
At least give you conversions.
We can help you as needed. So don't be asked, or ask a fellow competitor as well.
It might be worth too, Cody, just thinking about this right now. We could probably like round to the nearest 5, the nearest 10, and have somewhat of a conversion chart up, maybe somewhere, not even a chart, but like a couple pieces of paper to hand out.
Might be able to find, or you could just put it on the judge's booth, tape it on.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we'll do that. Remind me later. Good thought, Ted. So we'll put a couple reference sheets on the judge's booth. So when you go up to identify your weight for the next lift, you can take a peek at that and then give it to us.
Yeah, if that's something that's new to you.
Yep. And then so we have our back squat, and we will have spotters for that if back needed. And that really shouldn't be a need until like your third attempt, to be honest. Yeah. For most of you. Yeah. So we will have spotters for that. And then after the squat, so again, same thing. You'll have 3 attempts. So 3 minutes worth of attempts, I should say, to get your best weight possible. And then we'll have a transition, and then we'll finish with the overhead press. And this is a strict press out of the rack. And same structure, right? You have already identified your opening weight. We'll go through that order. The order will change. So do note, like, if you successfully complete your lift and then you give us the next lift, that order might change a little bit. So if you're someone that's quite a bit stronger, you might have to wait for someone to go 2, maybe even 3 times before you're up for your first lift. So do keep that in mind. We're not running through everybody for their first attempt and then recycling back. Again, it's always an ascending bar. So, and there might be some cases where someone has to go back to back. In those scenarios, we will give you more rest time.
Yeah, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that is exactly how any, kind of sanction.
Yeah, that would be
works.
normal.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that would be normal.
That's not even like one of our things. That's just kind of how you run a successful meet, right? So.
Yep. Because again, that bar is not going to decrease in weight. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be up, going up or staying the same, depending on if there's repeats.
Yes, we've got clean / power clean. We've got back squat / and then moving on to the overhead press. Those are our 3 lifts. Again, just to reiterate one more time, you have a maximum of 1 minute or 60 seconds to kind of complete the lift. Take as much or as little time as you need. We want to be able to, and again, just kind of the TED tip I would give to you is, make sure that you get a successful lift in that first one, right? And because as Cody said many times now, the weight will continue to go up. So it's, I don't know, I'm of the mindset, let's get one under your belt. Like, let's get a gimme.
Absolutely.
It's like when you show up at a basketball court, like, let's hit a couple layups before we just start shooting 3-pointers, right?
Yeah. And, or if you're like me, like dunking it.
Yeah. Before. Yeah. But, and then, so what else do we want to touch on here for the mock meet, Cody?
It's getting pretty close to more or less everything. Once you have your 3 lifts, everyone's done. We'll take totals. We'll do the math. I'm going to rely on some people that are better with spreadsheets to have some automated stuff going on for that. And then we'll announce the winners for the male and then the female division. Now, I will say this too, is we'll have 2 separate lifting stations. So the men and the women will be going simultaneously. So they'll have a platform for each. That is something to note as well. Because again, we're trying to minimize length, partly because, like, again, I don't have any desire to run like a multi-day meet. For sure. We're on a business's property, so we can't just suck up all of their space all day either. Mm-hmm. That's a big one. Accessibility. Like, I know some people just don't have all day to be lifting.
This entire IC Weightlifting Summit is designed and geared towards somebody who wants to, and probably should just, it is designed for somebody who wants to just come and make it a morning event, right? Like this, we don't want this to be an all day thing. We want this to be fun. Nope. We don't want this to drag out. And I think, from a spectator standpoint, that's less downtime too, right? I think I've been to meets sometimes and you're like, oh man, this takes so long.
When's that next event going to start? Yeah.
But this, like,
tired, they'll be like losing interest. Yeah. Even for the participant, like, man, like, shoot, I've been here for 4 hours already. Like, we don't want that to happen.
Exactly. So this will be, even from, like I was going to say, from a spectator standpoint, very entertaining because you'll have 2 people lifting almost on the minute. Boom, boom.
Yeah, there should be someone on a bar at all times.
Something. And do we have any other notes for spectators? Right. I mean, I think it goes without saying, but yeah, like, this is a very positive environment. We're going to cheer everybody on. We're going to. Yep. I don't think that even really needs to be said, to be honest. But I think.
Come out, hang out. Yeah, come out, hang out. Obviously, spectators aren't allowed to participate in terms of like touching or handling any of the equipment. There's liability reasons. But yeah, hang out, grab a seat, grab some shade, grab a drink, whether it's a water or a brew. and yeah, just cheer people on and have fun.
One more thing, we did touch on it briefly earlier. On the IC Weightlifting Summit Instagram page, we've spotlighted a number of event spotlights, people that are going to be there, booths,
participants, coaches, gyms, PTs, all that stuff. Absolutely.
And again, this is a free event, and these people are donating their time also to just kind of be a part of the community. Yeah. Exactly. And so, be respectful of them. Again, I don't think that really even needs to be said, but when you see volunteers, if you are a participant, if you are a spectator, be sure to thank them. Thank them for their time, thank them for coming out. This is something that we plan to continue to grow. This is kind of the first year, the baby steps. This is something that we've been planning, Cody's been planning for quite some time. We did try to run it last year, but with the shutdowns and stuff, it just wasn't probably accessible. Yeah, it wasn't in the cards. So we look forward to. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we let everyone go, Cody?
I think that's it. Again, and I might be missing something. I have some notes in front of me and things like that. But hit us up. You can send a message on Instagram, either to info or practicalwellnesscoach.com on Instagram. Gosh darn it, let me reset that. If you can ask us questions by going to our Instagram page, Practical Wellness Coach, and just sending us a message, or you can go to the IC Weightlifting Summit Instagram page and send us a message there. You can also email us at info@practicalwellnesscoach.com. Or you can email us at IC Weightlifting Summit at gmail.com. So either of those would be, viable to ask any questions or find any clarity. And obviously the same thing for Facebook. So you can send us messages on Facebook too.
That's great. So again, if you're somebody who has experience in these movements, we highly encourage you to participate in this mock meet, just to kind of, make it a fun environment. And if you know somebody who would be a good candidate for the Lift and Learn, whether that's you yourself or a family member, a neighbor, friend, whatever it is, very, very, very much encourage them to participate in this. If you're listening to this,
first step.
It is. If you're listening to this and you have been given a lot, through fitness, through health and wellness, this might be your opportunity to give it to somebody else too. It could be their first steps towards, a better, healthier life.
Yeah.
So
again, this is dependent on you guys to be successful. Again, community driven. So I rely a lot on, because I'm not making any money, I'm losing money, more or less, and I'm putting a lot of time into it, but I only can do so much. If I show up and do all this work and no one else participates, then it doesn't work. Right. So community is a big part of this. Let's show up and support not just our coaches and gyms, that's fine, but let's support each other and raise each other up, in this, particular modality of strength and longevity and health and being able to do things as we age and even now, right? A stronger person is just simply better at everything,
Hell yeah. Well, great. Thanks again for listening. This has been Practical Wellness Radio. All right. Here at Practical Wellness, we're super excited to be offering some merch, right? Everybody loves merch, t-shirts. We're pretty proud of. We got these nice kind of soft Practical Wellness t-shirts, and the store is up and running. Cody, where can people go to get their own Practical Wellness t-shirt?
I'm really excited about this. It took me a little while to get it kind of set up. I wanted to kind of get some of this stuff rolling maybe a few weeks ago, but by the time you get samples ordered in and check things out and make corrections, it becomes more of a process. But you can go to our storefront's actually on Etsy. So you can go to Practical Wellness LLC. You can just type that into the search. You'll have to maybe scroll around a little bit. But you'll see it. You'll just see Practical Wellness on the shirt. You'll see actually Ted as a model for our unisex tee, and you'll click that, and you can just order that. We'll actually have links to make it easier. So, wherever we kind of make our home on the internet. So on our website, you'll find a link to the store in the top. What do you call those, tabs or headers? Just click on the store. Practical Wellness Store header, and you'll get directed there. Probably the easiest way though is going to Instagram and clicking the link in our bio. It'll go to the link tree, and then just click. What's it called? Ted, what is it called? Hold on.
The link tree.
Well, the link tree, but you can click our link tree and then just click the Practical Wellness Store is what it's called. So click the Practical Wellness Store tab. It'll take you right over to the Etsy store, and you'll be able to see what we have to offer. We'll also have a link on Facebook too. If you are signed up for the newsletter for Practical Wellness, you would have already received an email about how to access that as well and some more details. But yeah, this is going to be, I'm really excited about this. This is a print to order situation. So basically I'm not holding any stock. I don't have to get sizes and then email or mail things out specifically to people as individuals and all that stuff. So basically what you'll do is you'll go to the store, you'll choose your product, you'll choose your color. So for example, our unisex t-shirt has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different color options. I'm really pumped about for you to choose from. So you can, find your favorite color, get a couple shirts, get a couple different colors of this shirt, and rock it. And once you click, order, submit, whatever, that'll arrive about 5 to 7 business days right to your door. So there's no middleman here. I'm not doing anything in terms of having to repackage it or anything like that. It's just going to be sent right to you, and it's going to be a persistent source. So it's going to be open indefinitely, right?
Yeah.
And right now we're kind of limiting our products. So we have the unisex t-shirt, which Ted has, and he loves.
Yep. Extra large. Fits nice.
What color did you get?
I got, I guess it's a navy blue or blue, somewhere between the scale of royal blue and navy blue.
There you go.
Yeah, it's right in between, I would say.
Yeah, and he looks excellent in it.
Nice and soft. I think too, and you said we're limiting our products, but essentially it's just a t-shirt. And there's a tank top available also, correct?
Yeah, so we have the unisex t-shirt, and then there's a women's tank.
Yeah, but also in multiple colors.
Yep, there's not as many colors for the tank. That's just kind of the nature of the supplier on that one. But there's, I think, 4 different colors for the tank as well. They're pretty size consistent. If you've ordered any of the Practical Wellness gear last year, it's pretty size consistent of those products. It's the same Bella canvas, multi-blend stuff. So you should be pretty confident in that. So check those out. We will have more to offer as the year progresses. So I'm looking into some tie-dye shirts, which I'm really excited about. I've done mugs in the past, so I might look into that for the print order store as well. So there'll be a few different things, and I'll kind of notify people of those again via the the newsletter, Instagram, and things like that. So kind of keep on the lookout for some different stuff over the next few months too.
Yeah, like Cody said, the definite easiest way is to just go to our Instagram page, Practical Wellness Coach, and then in the link in the bio, it's the very top one, I think, at the moment, Practical Wellness Store.
Yep,
click it, and it takes you right there. It's a matter of seconds. Click and go.
And then, you bought through the Etsy store for us, and
I did.
That was pretty easy, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was the guinea pig. I bought it.
Yeah, you're the guinea pig.
Yeah, and it worked just great. Showed up in just a matter of a few days, and like Cody said, we're excited. If you guys have any ideas on anything else you want to see merch-wise, feel free to let us know. Also, can people get signed up for the newsletter through our Instagram page also, Cody? I know.
Yeah, so actually, if you go to our Instagram page, just like directed earlier for the storefront, it's literally right underneath Practical Wellness Store link. It's the next one is the monthly newsletter sign up, so you can hit that. It's super easy.
Hit that to stay up to date on all the things that we got going on. Yep. All right. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This is all we got. We'll talk to you next time.
Bam.